now to discuss this is Dr. Charles Sophie. He's a medical director of the LA County Department of Children and Family Services, and Tanya Brown, author of Finding Peace Amid the Chaos, My Escape from Depression and Suicide. It's great to have you both here for this important conversation tonight. Tanya, let me start with you. You've been open about your depression and even your thoughts of suicide. Can you share with us what that dark place feels like?
You know, unless you've been there, you really have no clue. And that's why I really want to encourage people not to judge Robin, even for his family at this point, because, you know, when you are in that dark space, people who commit suicide or try to commit suicide don't want to die. They want to end the pain, and they are desperate. And that is, it's a desperate cry out and from a person who's in extreme pain.
Yeah, of course.
It's, and it's unresolved pain.
That's such a great point. When people outside, and we've heard this, and we've heard Todd Bridges just say, when they say that the person who commits suicide is selfish, it means that they don't realize that the person how crushing the depression is, and they think that they're going to be sparing their family of that pain. But Dr. Sophie, I want to bring up something that I learned in the past 24 hours that I didn't know before, and that is that middle-aged men from 45 to 64 years old, as Robin Williams was at 63, are at the greatest risk for suicide. Why is that?
Yes. They're at a 4-time greater risk of committing suicide. And that's because a lot of times many men do not deal with their feelings like you would think a woman would. They're more closed off. They're more isolated. They tend to be more aggressive, and they tend to be more impulsive. And they get to be compulsive as well. So they'll act on things in a quiet silence much quicker than a woman would.
Tanya, how did you come out of your dark days? What was it that lifted that veil for you?
I got thrown into a psych ward. That was where my dark space got me. It was there was a trigger. My wedding was canceled 4 days before, and for 1 month I went into full-on self-destruction mode. I was popping pills, Klonopin. I was drinking my red wine over a comment. We had a family friend of ours over on October 9th. He said something I didn't like. I snapped and I lashed out at every member of my family. Ruined my relationship with Denise for an entire year because I called her horrific names. And but you know what? I went willfully. I basically said to my family, get me out of here before I hurt myself or someone around me. That's how out of my mind I was, but I was also like in my mind to be that aware.
Yes, and to know that you yourself were hitting rock bottom and that you reached out and that you needed help. And Dr. Sophie, I want to bring you in because if people out there are suffering tonight, and chances are there are many people who are listening to us who are, because depression is so prevalent, what should they do tonight?
If you are suffering, or you know someone or a loved one is suffering, there are really a lot of great resources. Reach out to Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Is an 800 number that you can call. You can talk to somebody. They'll give you a place to go close to your home. They'll give you resources, but reach out for help. There is a ton of resources, but you've got to be able to reach. Don't wait till it's so dark that you're paralyzed.
Tanya, how do you keep yourself from going back to that dark place?
You know, I'm all about prevention, and, you know, sadly, our children today are not taught the coping skills or life skills that are needed to manage their life through the daily stress that we're experiencing today. So when I was in the psych ward, I learned self-care, and I know for a lot of people it sounds hokey pokey or pop psychology, but there's truth and science backing up how important meditation is, slowing down your mind. Ariana Huffington just wrote a book called Thrive, and in there she talks about taking a digital detox, which I so think is so imperative because we're more connected to technology than we are to ourselves and to other people around us. So meditation, yoga, Pilates, exercise, their endorphins are released and those are free, you know? So it's just managing yourself on a daily basis so then you are able to navigate your way through. And it's all about prevention.
That's a great point. And Dr. Sophie, is it important to tell people tonight that suicidal feelings will pass?
Absolutely. If you catch them earlier, the earlier you get it, the better and quicker it goes away. So there is help, but you've got to learn to self-soothe, and you got to see the red flags within yourself. And yes, they will pass as long as you get and reach out for the right kind of help.
Thank you both so much for sharing your wisdom and your personal experience. Dr. Sophie, Tanya Brown, and I will tweet out a website for help for anybody who is listening. Thanks so much.
I think it's interesting.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think that many people who are depressed don't even know they're depressed until after you receive treatment. Then you realize, my gosh, I was really, down.
That's a great point. Tanya makes that point in her book too, that she didn't realize how bad it was until that trigger, and then she hit rock bottom.
Yeah. Continue to talk about this. And just ahead, President Obama